This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic. We're continuing our work on graphing trig functions, and this is a continuation of a video where I showed you how to determine the period of a sine function. We did it for y equals the sine of 2x. And here's one thing we realized. If we're trying to do the sine of 2x, we're going to put 2x in between 0 and 2 pi. Just the sine of x has a period of 2 pi, but then we have to solve for x. And what this tells us is that the period of y equals the sine of 2x is actually pi. So that was our conclusion. Y equals the sine of 2x is pi. And so now we're going to do some more examples using this same method. So let's say you wanted to find the period of y equals sine of 3x over 4. All right, so instead of x being in between 0 and 2 pi, 3x over 4 is in between 0 and 2 pi. Now, how do you solve that for x? You have to think of what the coefficient of x is. So you might want to think of it this way. That's the same thing as 3/4 x, okay? Now, why did I leave a little space here? Because I want to multiply by the reciprocal because I want to solve for x. So I multiply all three parts by 4/3. So what does that give me? That means 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 8 pi over 3. So the period is actually just pi over 3. So the answer here is the period is 8 pi over 3. All right, not a pretty period necessarily. It's like not something like 2 pi or 3 pi, etc. But that is what the period is. In other words, it'll make one full cycle between 0 and 8 pi over 3 on the x-axis. So in general, we could say if y equals the sine of bx, right? I don't need to put this in parentheses, but you can. Okay. That means the graph completes one full cycle if bx is in between 0 and 2 pi. But I want to solve for x. So I would divide everything by b. And that gives me 0 is less than or equal to 2 pi over b. And this is what most people remember. That will be the period, 2 pi over b. Now, some people have trouble with this because this could give you a complex fraction. So remember, 2 pi over b could be thought of as 2 pi divided by b, right? Or it could be thought of as 2 pi times 1 over b. They all really mean the same thing. So now let's do the problem we just did a minute ago and just use this formula. The period is simply 2 pi divided by, what does b stand for? It is the coefficient of x. If you want to use this formula, you can say, well, it's just 2 pi divided by that coefficient of x. Or you could simply write this inequality each time to figure it out. So here's the problem we just did. Find the period of y equals sine of 3x over 4. In this case, what is b? All right, so let's just do this problem again. We're trying to find the period of y equals the sine of 3x over 4. And the way we did it here was we just put that 3x over 4 was between 0 and 2 pi, and then we solved for x. But now using the formula, I could say, well, in this case, what's b? It's the coefficient of x, which is 3/4. And now we're going to use the formula for the period is 2 pi divided by b. So what is it in this case? It's 2 pi divided by 3/4. Now this confuses some people, but remember that just means, like I said a minute ago, 2 pi divided by 3/4. And what's that? That's 2 pi times 4/3. And there we go. We get our 8 pi over 3. So some people like to think of it as 2 pi divided by b, and then they never are going to have a complex fraction like this. Okay, but if the coefficient is not a fraction, it's pretty easy just to do 2 pi divided by b. So let's just do a couple more problems. All right, here are two problems. Let's find the period of the sine of 3x. Let's do this one first. All right, what is b in this case? B is 3, right? It's the coefficient of x. So the period is just 2 pi divided by b. Okay? Let me keep that all one color here. Don't want to confuse it with this one. All right, now, second one. Y equals the sine of x over 2. What's b in this case? Be careful. What's the coefficient of x? You have to think of x over 2 as 1/2 x. So b is not 2, it's 1/2. So the period is 2 pi over b. Now, if you wrote it as 2 pi over b, it would look like this complex fraction. So maybe instead you might think of that as 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is 2 pi times 2, or 4 pi. In any case, make sure that you know how to deal with 2 pi over b. So this is how you can do it. Go directly to the period using that formula, 2 pi over b. So in the next videos, what we'll do is show how we can graph these equations after we determine the period. This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic.